Ballers, heroes from around the globe. We have people here from America, Australia, and the UK, which is awesome. And we also have some ladies in the chat. Oh, the ladies just love it. Let's jump into it. Hello and welcome to the workshop. We're going to be doing a workshop tonight. You guys send me some stuff. You send them to preachgaming@gmail.com. You submit them on my website, Preachgaming. It's all good. And then I try and help you out become ballers. Feels so good. Look at that camera. What the hell? I've only just started the show and the camera is all over the place. I hate the camera. So, holla! And a welcome to you guys who are following me tonight. We're going to have some fun. You guys are going to have a little bit of an extra special treat. I chose this one specifically because I found it quite cool. I found it really good. And it disproves a lot of things we see when we see very, very overgeared players. You will, of course, notice that it is still shining extremely brightly here in the UK. In fact, this window is in fact the bane of my life. This window directs the sun at this time of night directly onto the side of my face, making me extremely hot. I hate it. But we will get past it. It's not going to be a big deal at all. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to watch somebody play and we're obviously going to try and help them out. A couple of announcements, as always. The voting for the next beta guides will close tomorrow morning in the UK. So in about 12 hours from now, I will close it. There is one more Hunter guide to do, then it will be done. At the moment, the Warlocks are streaming ahead. People want to see the Warlocks. If you don't want to see Warlocks next, go ahead and vote at preachgaming.com in which are the next beta guides forum. Very, very easy to do. Just click and you are done and you have placed your vote. The voting will close tomorrow and a new vote will also go up tomorrow. So you guys can pick the next guides. Awesome. Very cool. Also, the web show is next week. It is essentially almost the one before we will be in Germany. We are going to be in Germany at Gamescom, where Blizzard is going to be showing us the new Mists of Pandaria intro trailer. Will it be cool? Will it not be cool? We'll see, but we will be there live to see it. Me and the team, that will be Ghost, that will be Mrs. Preach, and that will be Stefan Untriel will be in Germany. So if you're going to Gamescom, make sure you come and say hello to us. What I will say is we want some Brofist. We haven't done Brofist for the last month or so because we've been doing Rogue events. And a special thank you to those guys who took part in that. You will be getting your own special video very soon. But we want your Brofist. Send them to preachgaming@gmail.com. If you don't know what the Brofists are, you're probably new to the channel, and that's okay. But if I could tilt the camera this way, you see that map over there? That map is all the people who watch my show, who've sent me a picture of them throwing me the Brofist. I fucking love this shit, and so does Ghost. That is all the stuff that we like to look at before we produce a web show, before we do many of our major videos, all that kind of stuff. We like to look at those guys and appreciate exactly who we are talking to, because in the internet world, I talk to a webcam. I talk to a tiny little camera, and you guys see me around the world. I like to know exactly who's on the other side of that. So if you could send me a Brofist to preachgaming@gmail.com, cool. If you could label it Brofist, that would be even better. It means I don't have to sift through endless amounts of stuff to try and find out which are the newest Brofists and all that kind of stuff. It makes my life very easy. So, what are we looking at today and why is it a little bit special? This week, we are going to be looking at a chap who is hugely overgeared. So overgeared that if we saw him in our Looking for Raider, in our 5-man heroic and we were a tank, we would shit our pants. We would go, holy God, this is going to suck. This guy is so overgeared, he in fact has legendary daggers. That's right, he is a rogue with legendary daggers. You can imagine the rest of his gear is equally suitable to that level. He has tremendous amounts of gear. But he's still having trouble, which I thought you guys would like to see. And we can see the kind of issues people have and how we don't judge a book by its cover. We would see this legendary rogue and think, holy shit, this guy's going to blow this place up. And naturally, he's actually going to do that. We're not going to be judging his DPS. His DPS isn't actually the main issue he has. His DPS will demolish pretty much everybody else, naturally, because he's so overgeared. However, he's going to make a lot of little mistakes. And he sent me an email saying, Preacher, I have all this gear. Everything's pretty cool, but I just feel something's wrong. I feel like I should be doing more DPS, which is always tricky. And we always get this feeling, and if we're not exactly sure how to fix it, that's even worse. Because we don't know, we're just like, I should be doing more, and I don't really know why. And it's not a gear issue anymore, because I have all the gear. I have the gear, so what the hell is the problem? So that's what we're going to be looking at today, and we're going to see how in later levels, how things scale up to become bigger issues than they are when they're lower levels. When we're doing our first heroics and we're in our blues, and we're just not quite sure what we should do with our class in a PvE environment, things like clicking, delaying cooldowns aren't that big of an issue, because we're trying to decide things. Let's say we're an elemental shaman. We're trying to decide, should I be chain lightning in here? Should I be throwing in lightning bolts? And trying to follow maybe one of my guides to the letter. And that's where we can become unstuck. There's about 4 or 5 different things we're going to look at in this. The other one is this guy has a generally good idea of what he should be doing with his class, but he's so fixated on trying to maintain that perfect rotation that it actually causes him huge DPS losses. And when you're so overgeared, making these tiny little mistakes actually become very, very big issues. And we're going to see how that reflects in his damage compared to other people who are much, much lower gear than him. We're actually going to see another rogue who almost beats him on the DPS, very, very close. And this guy has a little interesting backstory. I'm talking about the other rogue, and we'll talk about that soon in the video as well. The other part of it is we always say the best way to become a top DPSer. This is not the basic stuff we want in the workshop. I want to take you from a guy who's understood the basics and push you up to the top, or close to the top, or getting on your way so you can discover your own ways of actually improving yourself. This chap is so focused on his own class and what he's doing that he doesn't take into account stage 2, which is how the boss works. This is how we need to really push our DPS. Once we understand our class, everything's fine. That happens all the time. We're always on our class, so we don't need to learn much there. But now we need to learn how the boss works, and then in part 3, where we really start to push to the top, we learn how to put our class and our boss together and really start to focus on our DPS. So we've got exactly that. We're going to be looking at a legendary rogue and see what kind of mistakes he's going to make, how we can improve his play, all that kind of good stuff. So, I'm going to show you the first few minutes of play. I'm going to show you the first few minutes of play so you can get an idea of what we're looking at. We're going to talk about his UI, all that cool stuff, all the stuff you guys should be relatively enjoying. And it should be all good for you. I love it when that absolutely lags out completely. Fan-dabby-dozy. There we go. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so we're off. We are looking at Jalapeno, the spicy Mexican rogue. And we're going to take a quick look at his UI. One thing that is an issue is we certainly don't want deadly boss mods and big wigs installed at the same time, creating this crazy clutter, this constant overlap of cooldowns, so in fact we can't really see what the hell makes sense. But in general his UI is quite cool. Now, for this level of rogues, you can see the legendary daggers are enchanted and poisoned up as normal. This boss mod, I forget what it's called. I have seen it before. It's something like E-bars or something like that. It's all very well and good, but the huge problem with it is we can't see our DPS buffs. Now, when you're playing to this level, when you have this level of gear, we need to know when our DPS cooldowns are up. It's very, very important that we know when our DPS cooldowns are up. We need to be tracking them so much because we've got so much gear that every single buff that we get is going to be magnified immensely. Just huge magnifications of our DPS. Really crazy stuff. So if you've got huge amounts of agility, you've got legendary daggers that are stacking up crazy amounts of agility as well. Every time we get a proc from a trinket that adds on top of that huge level of gear, our DPS tends to skyrocket. Now, this rogue unfortunately does not have any sort of method of tracking his own DPS cooldowns, other than this buff mod in the top right, and he's not going to be following it too much. I assume it's a he, could be a she. Note this power aura here. This is his slice and dice power aura. This slice and dice power aura tells him when he's got 10 seconds left on his slice and dice and he should use his slice and dice. So he's thinking to himself, I don't need to track slice and dice. As soon as I need to refresh it, I'm going to get a nice power aura telling me to do it. You can see he's not tracking poisons in any way, nothing like that, nothing we would expect to see. But you can also see that his DPS is tremendous. His DPS is way up there. Now he is a clicker. He's managed to keybind his Sinister Strike, his Revealing Strike, and his Eviscerate. Now I'm sure you guys are absolutely laughing that he's a legendary dagger who is in fact a clicker, but that's okay. That's okay. He's managed to get his stuff. We're not exactly QQing over the clicking just now, but we are going to see later on that this rogue is in fact going to suffer because of clicking. When you're in this amount of gear and you're really able to do tremendous amounts of DPS, this is where clicking does become an issue. You can see he's going to click his tricks of the trade shortly, hopefully. Go, 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 my friend. There you go. He's clicking his tricks of the trade. He also clicks his killing spree and his adrenaline rush as well. We can pretty much assume that anything that isn't Sinister Strike, Slice and Dice, Revealing Strike, or Eviscerate is not keybound or not being used. They are keybound. I can see he's got Shift 2 over killing spree, Shift 3 over adrenaline rush, Shift 4 over redirect. He's got them all binded, but he's not capable of using them just now. You'll notice this power aura here. This power aura in the middle is telling him when he's about to get his legendary proc. And when he gets his legendary proc, there it is, which means he can spam constant eviscerates over and over and over and over again. So he's using all this kind of stuff. He's got some very cool little power auras. The UI itself is very nice. So where are we running into issues? It's the tiny things. And this is what we want to talk about today, is these tiny things mount up as we get more and more gear. In World of Warcraft right now, we get gear so easily. We get gear incredibly quickly, and that's okay. That's okay, as long as we're making best use of it. Once we get all this gear, the little things really start to mount up and cause us all sorts of crazy issues. And we also now need to learn how to abuse the boss. So, the first thing we're going to notice, what's wrong with this picture? I put a question to you guys. I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of this clip. I want you to tell me what's wrong with the first 30 seconds of this clip. Tell me. All the information you need is actually staring you in the face. Staring you in the face. 17 seconds. No, he started in stealth. No, he started in stealth to get closer to the boss. Oh, there we go. Smithy 86, like an absolute gangster. Smithy 86 absolutely rocked the socks. You guys can all just got stomped. You got absolutely fucking stomped. It was all about the Smithy. Smithy is the absolute gangster. Smithy wins the day. No cooldowns were used at all. No cooldowns were used whatsoever. And that is disappointing to say the least. Disappointing, because we have just wasted absolutely tremendous amounts of DPS. Massive amounts of DPS. Incredible amounts. I can't even explain to you how important your pull is. Every single advanced guide I tell you about a DPS class, I try to stress this enough. Your pull is so important. It's hugely important. It's more important than who's going to be the next president as far as a WoW player is concerned. If you want to do mad DPS, I don't care if Obama's going to be elected. I want to make sure I'm doing mad deeps from the very get-go. I want to be smashing people to pieces. What we've got here is a guy who delays his cooldowns. Now, if you're not sure how a combat rogue works, every time we do a finisher, we actually reduce the cooldown of our DPS cooldowns. Our adrenaline rushes drops by 10 seconds, and so is our killing spree. So the quicker we use these, the more chances we get to use them later in the fight. And it's going to be a very running theme that Jalapeno very much delays his cooldowns on a very consistent basis. Now, part of this is down to clicking. Part of it. The other part of it is about awareness. And this also ties into clicking a little bit, because when we're clicking, we're not looking at the screen. We're not looking at these awesome power auras we've got. We're looking at our buttons, which are a substantial distance away from where our power auras are. Our power aura is going, you have adrenaline rush. You have it. It's there. Use the fucking adrenaline rush. Use it. But we're going, I just need to make sure I click it correctly, and I need to do this. And your power aura is crying its eyes out. It's like, dude, I'm using up your fucking memory. Use me so I can go and disappear for the next minute or so, and then I'll come back and I'll be all happy and having a great time and all that kind of stuff. DPS cooldowns at the beginning of the pull are so important, guys. Why? Because all your procs go off. Your trinkets go fucking mental. Your landslide procs on your weapons all fire off. If we delay it by such an immense amount of time, we're in a whole world of shit, and you're never going to come back from it. It's like being trapped in the jungle with the Predator. You don't want to be there. You want to use your DPS cooldowns at the beginning and fuck the Predator up, go home, bang the Mexican chick, and just have a generally great time. Awesome stuff, but because we didn't use our DPS cooldowns, we're now trapped in the jungle. Billy's cutting his chest. It's all gone pear-shaped. People are getting smashed by logs left and right. We don't want that. We want to kick some ass. So what we have is the rogue actually delays his cooldowns. Hold on then. Fucking hell, Demon Lord, you sad little wanker. Jesus Christ. There you go. So, apologies guys. So by delaying them for almost 30 seconds, all our fucking cooldowns have been fucking deleted. All our cooldowns are gone. Oh, it's a sad panda. And then we start getting to use our cooldowns, which is cool. Now, I'm going to go ahead to another 10 seconds or so. I'm going to let the guy do some mad deeps. It's all going to be good. It's going to be good. Okay, so Genji, you are in charge of banning noobs like Demon Lord. Go for it, buddy. You have good times. Where are we? 57, 58, 58. Boom! Okay, look at this screen. Now, another question for you guys before I answer it for you. You're a rogue. You're in this situation. Your slice and dice has 7 seconds remaining. He's now casting the Earthen Vortex. What does Earthen Vortex do? It casts the black blood of the black blood out the ground. I want to say Yogg-Saron, but it's not Yogg-Saron. And then he's going to, we're generally going to get the hell out of there. What the hell do we do? What do we do with these 4, possibly 5 combo points we're about to get? What do we do? we're in a situation like this. Now, the rules say we should be refreshing our slice and dice, because that's our priority system. We want slice and dice up 100% of the time. We want to be slicing and dicing all the hell the damn time. We want to be slicing, dicing, having a great time. But unfortunately, this whole situation changes, and this is where we start to think, hell, what the hell does the boss do? This is more and more important. So we have a couple of choices, and this is again is how 1 and 2 tie together to get number 3, which is understanding your class, understanding the boss. Then we know how to do maximum DPS. As a rogue, we have this incredible ability to stay the fuck in the black blood, especially in looking for raid. We're not in any great deal. We can use a 5-point combo point to refresh our slice and dice. This is what I would do if I was this rogue. I would use a 5-point slice and dice to refresh my slice and dice. Then the next ones I would stick a recuperate up, and when I got 4 or 5 debuffs from the black blood, I would go ahead and cloak it, and if I was in any danger towards the end of that, then maybe I'd sprint out and come back in very, very towards the end of it. But by that point, I've already done probably 6 or 7 extra finishes. I'm actually kicking ass and taking names. If I was in the other situation where I wanted to play by the rules and not really push my DPS to the max, with this 4 points, I would stick a rupture on. Why the hell not? Why would I refresh the slice and dice when I'm about to run away from the boss? That would be all sorts of fucked up, wouldn't it? I'd rather leave a rupture on there, or maybe if I had 5 combo points, I would just leave an eviscerate. Eviscerate, this is a pure eviscerate build this guy's rolling with. He's not too arsed about his rupture. Anything like that, you can drop an eviscerate, you can drop a rupture, and then you get the hell out of there. Now, this is a bit of a fail. Bit of a fail. Yep, good. Is he's going to use, and this is where he becomes very, very intent on this. This add-on, this power aura, is in fact going to cause him cock-ups through the remainder of his fights. He's submitted to us 4 different fights, all different perspectives. This slice and dice add-on tells Jalapeno, you need to refresh slice and dice. Now, this is where we get trapped into part 1. We understand our class, and we don't consider part 2, which is how this boss works. By doing that and sticking to part 1, we hugely lose DPS, because we now need to make a decision. Every time this happens, we need to make a decision. We need to be so understanding of what we need to do next that we should be thinking about it all the time. I know as a combat rogue, in fact, it's a very relaxed rotation. We're only doing eviscerates, we keep our revealing strike on and all that kind of stuff. That's cool, it's easy. Now I can just think about what the hell the boss does. But by just trusting this add-on indefinitely, oh, slice and dice needs to go on, then we're not thinking about the boss, we're not making our own decisions. And later in new bosses and new encounters, that's really going to cost us hugely. It's going to cost us a hell of a lot of time. So he actually refreshes the slice and dice and runs the hell away. You can see here he runs off straight away, doesn't use feign, doesn't use cloak, doesn't use recuperate, anything like that. And now we're stood here for this with a 26-second slice and dice doing nothing for us at all. Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. These are the little things, and this is where we need to understand the boss. If we are of the mindset that I need to get out of the black blood, I don't trust the healers in looking for raid to maybe throw me 1 heal or 2 heals or anything like that, then you need to make a decision. What shall I do with these combo points? Because I can do more DPS than I am doing. By sticking to a mod and sticking to just the first idea, which is, hey, you know what? I need to keep slicing dice on 100% of the time. We start losing DPS. So in fact, we lost huge amounts of DPS downtime there. Not only did we waste those combo points on a slice and dice, but we ran out very, very prematurely. Even if you just want to stick a cloak of shadows on you to stop getting the black blood debuffs or reset them after 1 or 2, you're in no danger. You can still get out and be very, very safe and pull off a lot more DPS. You can get a lot more cooldowns down. It's all going to be very, very cool. Now, where are we going to? I don't want to dwell too much on this one. Let me go to here. Okay. So we're getting towards the end of the boss now. You can see, again, we've got a nice big slice and dice on. We've got a full slice and dice again. Full slice and dice, and we're just stood at distance and we're using throw. Slice and dice is not helping our throw one little bit. It's really not helping our slice and dice one little bit. Not helping us whatsoever. Which puts us in a really shitty situation. And again, you can see we're delaying Killing Spree. Not very cool. We don't want to be delaying Killing Spree for that long. It's just so long. It's painfully long, in fact. To watch it, you just think, oh man, come on, use that fucking Killing Spree. Dude, do it, do it. And as Marchok comes to the death, because we delayed our cooldown so much, we're actually going to see that at the end of the boss, we've got 4.4% left of Marchok's health, is we've got a full adrenaline rush ready and another Killing Spree, which means we have lost at least 1 full adrenaline rush by not just making sure and using our decision processes correctly and being clicker. You can see how clicking here really let us down by not concentrating on what's going on around us and just trying to use our cooldowns whenever they're ready. We lost a full adrenaline rush, which is sad. We want to use that adrenaline rush, and we probably lost 2, maybe even 3 killing sprees with those delays, because using adrenaline rush obviously reduces the cooldown of everything else much, much more. So losing 3 killing sprees and losing a full adrenaline rush is massive suck. Huge amounts of suck. So the first tip from this boss is use your cooldowns immediately. You need to use them. You need to use them from the start of the fight and when they're back up. The only time you should be thinking about, should I use this DPS cooldown, is if there's some special flower burst phase coming that we need to think about immensely. We need to be thinking, hey, I need my DPS cooldowns for this. If it's a straight up nuke this boss to death and you're a rogue who can reduce his cooldown of his cooldowns much, much quicker, then you need to be using them ASAP. Delaying them is huge DPS loss. Jalapeno is going to pull around 30k DPS here, and most of us would say 30k DPS on Marchok, that's actually pretty cool. Well, it's not when you consider that realistically we could have seen, I don't know, probably around about 40k DPS. I would not be surprised to see 40 to 44k DPS being done by a legendary dagger rogue in here. Pretty close to those kind of numbers. Very, very important. It's all good. It's all good. So we're going to skip on. Go on, buddy. Get your DPS. Get your kill. It's all going to be good. He then moves us on to Zonos. Yeah! Zonos, arguably one of the easiest bosses in Looking for Raid. In fact, not arguably. It's just straight up the easiest boss in Looking for Raid. It's absolutely the easiest boss in Looking for Raid. But this is not about Looking for Raid. We're looking at the basics of this. The basics of how to play. We're looking at how we can maximize our DPS. And Looking for Raid is actually fantastic for dealing with mechanics and learning how to use our class in different environments. That's what we're all about. That's what we want to use this for. Very, very cool. Now, Zonos... A little drink of water. Oh, it's so hot here, balls. It's really hot. Zonos has this increased damage taking ability. An increased damage taking ability. So the longer the fight goes on, the more and more damage he's going to take. What does that mean? That the lower his health is, we want to make sure our cooldowns are always ready. This is extremely easy to do as a combat rogue, especially if you're getting as much energy as our rogue is getting. You're going to get tons and tons of energy. Now, I'm going to skip through this one pretty quickly because this fight is super fucking boring. Nobody likes watching Zonos. It's absolute garbage. We're going to jump in, and you can see, again, both these cooldowns being left for immense amounts of time. Absolutely immense amounts of time. Look how long. There we get the killing spree. We've been in combat for around 45 seconds, and we've still not popped Adrenaline Rush. Oh, you hate to see it! Why? Why would you not use Adrenaline Rush? Get it in there. You're struggling for energy. Come on, man. Use your Adrenaline Rush. Off we go. So, again, these huge delays in cooldowns have already cost us at least one fucking Adrenaline Rush. At least one. As the fight goes on, you can see his DPS is immense. We're up to 46k DPS already. Boss is only at 65%. Down to 47%, we're at 51k DPS. Look at this sad, lonely killing spree just waiting to be hit. Oh my god. Keep going. Keep going. We're now up to... Oh, he's started to get beat. Look at this. Oh, it's your side. This is where I wanted to show you. Now, the idea... is that by this point, we should in fact have all our DPS cooldowns ready. We want them to be all ready. We need them to be all ready. Why? Because this is where Zonos is the most vulnerable. And again, it's a case of we delayed all our cooldowns through the fight. We weren't focusing exactly on how this boss works, and now our DPS is going to suffer as a result. We're naturally demolishing the DPS meters. That's purely gear-based. That's nothing to do with how we are playing. And that's really sad. It's really sad because when you've got all this gear, these little mistakes really fucking add up. They add up so quickly, guys, I can't express it enough. They really do start to add up. Things like clicking and delaying. We're going to see in the next 2 fights some really delayed clicking stuff that costs massive DPS. I just want to point out here that this delaying cooldowns and not using them as soon as humanly possible. And then when we get to the lower end of the fight saying, how long will Adrenaline Rush last me? Can I use it all the way till 0% and it just about runs out? That is the ideal situation to be in. That is where we want to be. And as a combat rogue, it's very easy to do. So we're going to be moving up now. And we can see we've got 16 seconds left on Adrenaline Rush and 16 seconds left on our Killing Spree, which is cool. That means we're in good shape. But now we're at 7%. This is where we'd like to blow our cooldowns. Probably about 10 or even 11% we want to blow our cooldowns. Now we've seen Killing Sprees come back and we've not used it. We've not used it. The boss is at 3% and we've still not used Killing Spree. We popped Adrenaline Rush as soon as it came off cooldown, but the boss is at 0.5%. And we're going to finish this boss in a really sad place where our Adrenaline Rush is still being used. All that kind of stuff. Really garbage. It's upsetting to see that, but this is exactly what can happen. It really is exactly what can happen. We don't want that to happen. He's also submitted to me 2 more bosses. One of them, it features a lot of cleave. And another one is Hagara, where positioning becomes more important for a melee DPS. As a Legendary Rogue, we should be demolishing this boss. I've seen Legendary Rogues go up to about 70, 80k DPS on that boss. And it's purely this delay of cooldowns and this clicking that has caused a 20k DPS difference. This is how gear reflects upon us when we get to the higher levels. Once we've got to really top-end gear, everything counts so much more. The speed of using our cooldowns, lining up our cooldowns so much more importantly, really escalates into an enormous level of difference in the top end DPS. Everybody seems to think it's just gear. Gear will only get you so far. Then the little things really start to kick in. Like I said, as a lower end player, clicking and stuff ain't that bad. It's not even going to be a problem for you. But once you get up to high end gear, clicking is going to delay you by a few seconds. Wasting cooldowns for 30 seconds is a real big deal. A supremely big deal. Because we could be doing probably 20k more DPS. 10k more DPS. Because our DPS is now so reliant on the extras. Our gear is done. It's dealt with. We've got our gear. Now it's all about how can we make that work for us. I've got all this gear. It's like having a tank and not being able to drive it. You've just been given a tank. Here's your tank. Happy birthday. I can't fucking drive it. I don't know what the hell to do with it. It's useless. You might as well take it to McDonald's. You could sell it for £5, it's €10, or $20, whatever you want to sell it for, because it's useless to you. You need to be working on these little things more importantly. We're going to take a little break and then we're going to jump into the Cleave boss, where it all goes horrendously wrong, unfortunately. It's all going to go horrendously wrong. We're going to take a quick break, guys. I'm going to be back in a couple.